Hi, I'm Francisca Numajin of Ways of the Lord series. Ways of the Lord series is a channel where we talk everything about the God of creation, his likes and his dislikes, and how we can get back to him in heaven when we die. If you want to know much more about this great God, then this is a channel for you. Kindly subscribe if you are not yet a subscriber, and God richly bless you. On today's episode, I want us to talk about life in general is a salvation affair. Life in general is a salvation affair. When I talk about life, I'm talking about life for human beings. We all know that the planets all over in the solar system, it's only the earth that supports life. So life on this earth, we live here and go to another place. You've seen many people that have died. Where are they? They are no more in the physical life. It means they've left the earth to another place. And that place is what we are going to talk about. So when I talk about salvation in this sense, then I'm talking about being delivered from the consequences of sin. So on this earth, sin means doing things that are unrighteous. In a link in my description talks about unrighteous things to avoid if you want to get to a good place called heaven, where God of creation lives. So you can watch it when we are done. With the book of Ezekiel chapter 28 verse 12 to 15, which is in the Bible, we are talking about somebody who we call the devil. I call him the evil. So the devil means the evil. What did he do? And I read from the verse 12. Thou sealest up the psalm full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. This one here is talking about the characteristics of the devil. Thou has been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. The sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, emerald, the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou was created. Thou art an anointed cherub that covered. I have said thee so, and thou was upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created. No iniquity was found in you. By the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. And I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O carving cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Thy heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee down before kings. So, what is the consequence of this evil person? He said, thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thy iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore, I will bring forth a fire from the midst of you, and it shall destroy you. And I'll bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. This is talking about the devil, the evil. So this is the one that was there before the creation of this world, who brought evil into all of God's creation. When God created the angels, they are all spiritual beings, angelic beings. You can't see them with your eyes. God can't see him with your eyes. They were all perfect. So if you go to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 31, it's talking about the fact that God saw everything that he has made, and it was very good. This was talking about when he created the earth and the things that are in it, including you and myself. And then it was very good. So this person too was made of topaz, onyx, all the precious jewelries, the precious minerals of this earth. And then this was his workmanship. Yet he was anointed, and he was covering in God's dwelling. He was covering God. He was part of the cherub. Means it is a type of an angelic being. There are several types of angels. There are cherubs, there are seraphims, and the rest. So this was a cherub who was covering, he was just in the presence of God. Okay, and they are so innocent and very, and this one was an anointed cherub, and he was part of in the mountain of God. But he was perfect, and then he started trafficking. He trafficked people or some of the angelic beings against the God, and God cast him out, took fire, as I've read earlier on, out of him. And he said that fire that he took out of him, he will use it to destroy him. There's a part in the Bible that talks about the fact that God added fire to the characteristic of his angelic beings. So this is an angelic being that is being described. So the fire in him will destroy him. And so we had a place called hell before the earth was created. Hell means that everlasting fire. It is in the spiritual world. It's not in the physical world. So hell is where God has created, and is a distraction that God had given to Satan, the devil, before he created human beings. So after the creation of a man and a woman, who are the first things that God created to start the human race, one of them was Adam, who is the man, one of them was Eve, who is the woman. Genesis chapter 1 verse 3 talks about how life began. It began with he said, God said that let there be light, and after creation God saw that everything was good and perfect. These human beings that God created were also perfect beings, just as the devil was. They were not corrupted, they were not of sin. So life in general, going back to the topic, life in general is a salvation affair. So God being the good one, so anyone that is doing things that God loves, the God of creation expects, is in the group of the good people. So those who do evil will be in the group of the devil, who was also perfect, just like human beings were perfect, but became evil. So the Bible talks about the creation story in Genesis chapter 1 to chapter 3 in details. If you want to know more about how the devil entered the Garden of Eden to deceive Adam and Eve, just as the Ezekiel chapter 28 verse 13 talked about the fact that thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. So the devil, is this the account that the devil went there? So Genesis chapter 3 verse 1 to the end of the whole chapter talks about how he entered the garden through a serpent and deceived the woman first, followed by the man, and then totally they were all off. They were all in sin. So that gives an account. So kindly download a Bible app, go through it for yourself, and then you will be blessed by knowing this before you leave this earth, to know the truth that there is somebody called the devil. Continuing our message, I move on to Matthew chapter 7 verse 19, talking about every tree that bringeth not good fruit is cast down, or is cut and then cast down into the lake of fire, everlasting fire, where the devil is the place that has been prepared for the devil. Anyone that doesn't bear a good fruit, if your deeds on this earth are evil, then you are bearing evil fruits. So anyone on this earth that does not bear good fruit, you will be cut off. And when you talk about cut off, you mean leaving this body, your soul, you leave your body behind, but your soul will be taken. So immediately you are cut off, it means life has ended. And then when you move, you'll be cast down into the lake of fire. So your soul will enter into the lake of fire, or the everlasting fire, or hell, made for the devil, who was the first person to sin against God himself, whose fire inside him was taken, and that is his own distraction. So fire is the devil's distraction, as I've read, and then you'll be there. So after life on this earth, if you have any doubts that there is no life after this earth, then kindly let us go into history. You've heard about Abraham Lincoln, we've heard about so many great men, we've heard about the queens and the kings who ruled in Egypt, in Britain, in India, and so many great states in Spain and the rest. or other parts of the world. Where is Pharaoh? Where are the old pharaohs? It tells us that this life is a passing through. It means this physical world is not where we'll be forever. So as I'm talking about the groups, so when you transform and you leave this body and you move into the spiritual world, the group that you please, did you please God or did you please the devil? So God lives in heaven and the devil is in the fire. So if you pleased God, you go back to heaven. That's one group. And then you please the devil, you go back to another group. So this is what I mean by life in general. So every population that will pass through this earth has two destinations in the spiritual world. So if you escape the bad place, then it means you've been able to be delivered from the consequences of sin. So right now you don't have to sin. So any fruit that is evil or bad fruit is any human being that has sinned. So back to the major topic. What is the qualification to go to God's place? Number one, God's place is heaven, and the qualification is to believe in Jesus Christ. The book, the Bible, the Quran, they all talk about Jesus being the Messiah. Other books on this earth talks about Jesus being the Messiah, that he is great in this world and the hereafter. Great means that Jesus is the most important in this world and the most important in the hereafter. This is Quran chapter 3 verse 45, which talks about Jesus. Yes, the Quran. So if you want to go to where God is, then you have to believe in Jesus. This is a qualification. The Bible in John chapter 3 verse 16 talks about the fact that for God so loved the world, it means human life on earth, God loves them, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in God would not perish, but have everlasting life. So Jesus is the most important on earth and the most important in the everlasting world, which is the everlasting world is not the physical world but the spiritual world. Spirits don't die, so that is where it is most important. So then you have to add righteousness to be able to go to God's place after believing in Jesus Christ. Now, Satan's place. Number 2, Satan's place. What is the qualification to go to the place belonging to Satan? That is the fire, everlasting fire, hell. The qualification to hell is by not believing in Jesus Christ. So if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you beautifully qualify into the painful lake of fire, which is made not for any human being but for the devil, because of his evil and those that he trafficked in heaven in addition to him. That's the place made for all of them. And what else must you do to be able to qualify to hell? The painful and agony, place of agony, is also to add unrighteousness. Some of the unrighteous things are lying, murder, adultery, fornication, effeminate, drunkenness, idolatry. You have seditions, heresies, revelings, abuse, pornography, and all those kind of evil things. So if you want to get to God, then you have to practice righteousness, believe in Jesus Christ, and we call it salvation. So if you are able to be saved, then you have been delivered from the consequences of sin. And then if you get to Satan, fire, then you have been able to what? Perish, and you are going to enjoy eternal death. So now I'm finishing this video by asking you, where do you want to go? These two places, life in general is a salvation affair. It's all about salvation. But where do you want to go? I want to make it to heaven. I have believed in Jesus Christ. I'm continuing to add righteousness. I always pray that God will help me to continue righteousness, so that every temptation that will come my way to sin, I wouldn't be drowned into sin, so that I'll be able to escape the consequences of sin, which is the fire made for the devil. So you too, it's your decision to choose where you want to go. Would you want to sin and go to hell, or do you want to do righteousness and go to heaven? Thank you once again for watching. I'm Francisca Nomaji of Ways of the Lord series. If you are yet to subscribe, kindly do, and God richly bless you. See you in my next episode. Bye.